There are currently 80 homes on the market in Fairfield, Connecticut. Across all Fairfield County, there are only 1,025 single-family homes on the market actively. And for a population of about 960,000 people, that is an incredibly low number. And there are hundreds of qualified buyers actively looking right now. So if you're one of them, you probably already know what I'm going to say. This market is unlike anything most buyers have ever experienced before. I'm Jennifer Lockwood, a local real estate advisor, and I've been helping buyers and sellers navigate the Fairfield County real estate market for years. And honestly, the patterns of what I'm seeing happening for buyers right now feels very similar to what was happening during the pandemic market. Today, I'm breaking down the 7 signs that buyers are getting desperate in Connecticut and what every buyer needs to know to stay on the right side of the market. So let me give you the real picture of what's going on in Fairfield County right now, because the national conversation about housing does not apply here. It's not even close. Fairfield County is not experiencing a softening market, and the market is not going to crash. Through May 2026, prices were up 7% year over year. Some towns saw a much higher percentage. The median sale price across the entire county is $801,000, and the inventory remains critically low at just 2.5 months of inventory. Take into account a balanced market is considered 6 months of inventory. So we are still very much below that number. And in the town of Fairfield specifically, there are only 80 single-family active homes for sale right now. That is an incredibly low number, especially for the spring market. This is not a temporary dip. This is the result of a decade-long collapse of new listings combined with mortgage lock-in effect. So homeowners who secured their mortgage rates at 2.5% to 3.5% simply are not selling. They're not moving up to the next house. They're not downsizing, because trading that payment for today's rates often doesn't make financial sense. So inventory stays low and the buyer competition stays intense. So the result is winning offers regularly coming in over asking price, and well-priced homes are often seen going under contract within days, not weeks. Note that the list to sale price ratio is around 103%, so 3% over asking. But the highly sought after homes are going 15 to 20% over asking. So it does vary town by town and price point by price point. So the signs I'm talking about in this video are not signs of a collapsing market. They're signs of the exact opposite. So let's dive right in at number 7, refreshing listing alerts every hour. Here's the first sign, and honestly, it almost sounds harmless. You pull up your smart MLS or any third-party real estate site on your phone the moment you wake up, you check it at lunch, you have alerts set for every town, every price point, and the moment something comes through, you're already texting your agent before you even finished reading the description. That is not normal buyer behavior. In a healthy market with 6 months of supply, buyers usually take their time. And what I'm seeing with my clients right now is buyers know good homes disappear fast. Some go under contract within days, and sometimes before the open house even happens. So the compulsive checking is not anxiety for no reason. It is a rational response to an irrational supply shortage. And what this behavior tells you as a seller is that a well-prepared, well-priced home coming to the market, buyers are waiting for it. The demand is not waiting, they are ready. And here's what it tells buyers: that checking itself isn't really the problem, but checking without a strategy is the problem. Buyers who are not financially prepared, crystal clear on their numbers, or not ready to move quickly are usually the ones that end up getting frustrated. Speed without preparation is one of the biggest mistakes that I see buyers making in this market. Sign number 6, making offers without seeing the property in person. This one is happening more than people realize. A buyer in New York or New Jersey or even across the country gets a new listing alert for a home in the area. They know the town, they've been here, they've done their research, they've driven the streets, and instead of waiting for a showing that they can come to in person before the offer deadlines, they will submit an offer sight unseen. In a normal market, this sounds pretty reckless, and honestly, in some ways it still is, because in Fairfield County, there are real physical complexity that listing photos simply do not show. The older housing stock in this area can carry deferred maintenance that pictures do not capture. You will be dependent on the opinion of your realtor viewing the home, and everyone's perspective varies. Many of these properties could be near a busy street or a highway where you might hear the white noise, and other people it might not bother at all. But here's what this tells you as a seller. If you get an offer as a seller from a sight unseen, it can be strong, but it also carries some risks. Buyers who have never physically walked in the home are more likely to hesitate or renegotiate once inspections begin, or they finally see the property in person. The buyers are doing this because the alternative, waiting for an in-person showing, can mean losing the house entirely. And with a large percentage of out-of-state buyers still coming from New York, many simply cannot get to Fairfield County within 48 hours. And if you're a buyer going in with an offer sight unseen, your inspection contingency is not a luxury. It is a financial necessity. Now, the next sign is where the financial risk really starts to escalate, and that's number 5, and that is submitting an offer before the open house. In a balanced market, open houses are informational. Buyers tour the home, sellers get exposure, offers come in over the following week. But in Fairfield County right now, buyers are submitting offers before the open house even happens. They call their agent the day the listing hits the market, they schedule a private showing immediately, and they come in with an offer, sometimes aggressive, before the first open house even happens. And why? Because buyers know that waiting until after the open house means that you're competing with everyone else who walks through the door. Getting in early gives them a chance to catch a seller who may prefer a clean, strong offer instead of managing an entire weekend of showings and multiple offers. It also tells the seller how much you really want that home. In the town of Fairfield, sale prices average roughly 4% over asking price, but the range is what's interesting. It ranges from 83% of asking price all the way up to 124% of list price. And that tells you we're not in a uniform market. Some homes are getting multiple preemptive offers immediately. Others are sitting. For buyers, the key question is whether the seller is actually open to hearing a preemptive offer before the open house. Because that seller who is intentionally pricing it at market value or just below is there to create competition. And those are the sellers that are probably not going to cancel their open house for an offer at list price or even just above. That seller is looking for the competition and the highest price. But a seller looking for certainty, speed, and strong terms, well, they may just take an offer before the open houses. And knowing the difference usually comes down to local market knowledge and understanding the seller's motivations. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Fairfield County, make sure you download my free Fairfield County relocation guide below. It breaks down the towns, the pricing, commute options, the schools, and the things that most buyers don't realize until after they move here. Now let's get to sign number 4. Using an escalation clause without a cap strategy. So first of all, what is an escalation clause? An escalation clause basically says, as a buyer, I will beat any competing offer or the highest offer by a certain amount, usually $2,000 to $5,000, up to a maximum price, and that would be your cap. And in Fairfield County right now, where many winning bids are still landing 3 to 7% over asking, escalation clauses have become very useful. And in the right situation, they absolutely can be smart. But only, and I mean only, if the seller accepts them. There are some sellers that do not want escalation clause, they just want highest and best. But here's what a lot of buyers don't realize. The moment you submit an escalation clause, you're showing the seller your ceiling. The strategic version of an escalation clause is one where the increment is strategic and the cap is truly your walkaway number, and the rest of the offer is strong enough that the price is not the only thing carrying the deal, meaning you are strong on your contingencies. The desperate version is when buyers keep pushing the number higher simply because they're emotionally exhausted from losing other homes. I did have a client who put an escalation clause in without a cap. They were tired of losing homes and they just really didn't care how high they had to go in order to secure the home. For buyers using an escalation clause, running the numbers with your cap price, not the list price, is very important. Make sure that that payment actually works comfortably for your life. And for sellers, not every escalation clause should automatically win. Some sellers prefer clean, straightforward offers with strong terms instead of complicated escalation language. Now we're on to number 3, and that is waiving financial protections in order to win the house. This is where the market gets financially serious. And in this market in Fairfield County, many buyers are competing with cash buyers. So how can you compete with cash? And that has to do with these 2 contingencies. Buyers are competing by removing contingencies from their offers, and these two are the biggest financial ones, the appraisal contingency and the financing contingency. So let's start with the appraisal side. So in a market where homes are regularly selling over asking, buyers often are agreeing to pay numbers that may not fully align with the recent comparable sales. But lenders do not lend based on what a buyer is willing to pay. They lend based on what the appraised value is. Then comes the financing side. So the financing contingency protects the buyer if their mortgage falls through. Removing that means your deposit is now fully at risk if the loan doesn't close. And buyers are doing this because they are competing against cash and they are confident they're going to get their mortgage. Roughly 42% of Fairfield County sales in April of 2026 were cash transactions. So finance buyers are trying to make themselves look just as strong as cash buyers. Now, for some buyers, removing these contingencies is pretty calculated and reasonable. They're removing protections simply because they're exhausted from losing homes and they want this house. This is where it can get a little dangerous because if the appraisal comes in low, financing changes, or rates move, or the underwriting hits an issue late in the process, the buyer may now be financially exposed with their deposit on the line. For buyers, the key is understanding your true worst-case scenario before removing these protections, and talking to your lender is imperative to understand the risk. And for sellers, buyers who waive the appraisal and financing contingency with strong proof of funds are often the strongest offers in the room because they're showcasing they can actually absorb the risk. And as a seller, if you want to know what your current market value of your home is in the market today, here's a QR code. I can provide you a free market analysis of that value. Now we're on to sign number 2, waiving the inspection contingency entirely. This one is a dead giveaway that buyers are feeling the pressure. An inspection contingency gives the buyer the right to inspect the home, understand the repairs the home might have, and give you the opportunity to walk away if there's major issues that are discovered. In Fairfield County right now, I have seen buyers waiving that protection completely just to make their offer more competitive. I personally never recommend not having an inspection contingency, but I also understand the perspective of certain buyers. Every house is different too, so everyone has different risk levels. You have to take every aspect of the house into consideration. A good inspection can easily uncover tens of thousands of dollars in repairs. And if you waive that inspection contingency, those problems now belong to you. Now, there's a strategic version of this where some buyers do an information-only inspection, but that's not waiving the inspection contingency. You're still doing an inspection before your full deposit is in escrow, and you still have the right to walk away. And then finally, up to sign number 1, showing the buyer desperation in this market right now. That is submitting a full price offer immediately on an intentionally underpriced listing. So for example, a seller and their agent intentionally prices a home slightly below market value in order to generate attention, create competition, and push buyers into multiple bids over the weekend. In Fairfield County, that strategy is extremely common right now. Then a buyer who has already lost multiple homes see this house hit the market, the price feels affordable, and they panic about losing another house. And within 24 hours, they submit only a full price offer before the open house or offer deadline even happens. But here's the problem with that. On a deliberately underpriced listing, and you should know it's underpriced if you've been in the market long enough that you've seen houses go under deposit and you've been to open houses, so you understand the value of homes in the area, you would understand if that house was underpriced and should be getting more than one offer. A full price offer usually doesn't look strong. It often tells the seller that the buyer is shopping near the lower end of their budget and may not be able to compete with all the other offers they may be getting. The buyers succeeding are not always the wealthiest buyers. They are the buyers making informed decisions. So whether you are buying, selling, relocating, or just trying to understand why this market feels so competitive right now, hopefully this gave you a clear picture of what is actually happening here in Fairfield County. Because the reality is this market rewards preparation far more than emotion. If you're thinking about making a move or want help understanding which homes, which price points or strategies make the most sense for your situation, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have a real conversation about the market and what you're trying to accomplish. My information is on the screen and below. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I'll see you on the next video.